floor, you see. Just okay. Picture number 1.
Aye. That's the coal you get in the coal, see? This one. And he's the one boring, ready for fire. See that one there? That's the jet who's boring, ready to fire with the old hand drills. Hand boring, that is. That's before we had the mechanical work, see?
Number 2.
Yeah. Aye, there's been a runner here. This has been a runaway of a wagon, see? And this chap's knocked out. He's the safety. These are the 2 safety men coming along. See, the firemen, the deputies, those are. He's working in an up district with all the clothes off, you see.
Number 3. I think that's called
Snapping, this is. This is where they're having the snapping, yes. All sitting on the snapping bank having the snapping. Aye. Lunchtime. 20 minutes, if you're lucky.
How far was the snapping bank away from the face?
Oh, sometimes it was almost on the face.
I see.
Aye, just off the face.
And would Charlie stand and talk to them there?
Oh yes, I sit and have his with us.
Would he?
Oh yes, I sit and have his snapping with us.
Number 4 then, Mr. Burgess.
Aye. This is the latest work of the mining work, where the conveyors, where it delivers into the tubs. And that's all the girder workers used to work that I used to do at the gate end. All this girder work.
You used to erect it?
Yes, all that ready for the main gate ends. I was in charge of all that.
Charlie Brown's daughter said that Charlie had an air raid shelter made out of...
These arches, yes, out of the arches. But these are girders, see. These are girders, see.
Yes.
Girder legs and then the girders top and all interlock in one another. These are the main gate end, what we call the main gate ends, where the coal was delivered from the face along these conveyors and emptied into the wagon.
I see. Who would give Charlie the rings for his air raid shelter?
Well, he might have begged them.
Number 5. That seems a bigger view of the way, doesn't it?
Yes, this is the gate end, like approaching onto the gate end. See.
Yes.
There's the gate end there, and this is the haulage away, all done in the girder work. That is. That's the latest style of the work. The latest, that is.
These posters were put up for safety?
Oh yes, first aid. Those are first aids. Every so far you'd get those, the first aid.
Number 6.
Well, this a bit like Charlie to me. This one is where he's on a Maver and Cowson cuttery. This is the Maver and Cowson cutter. I believe it was a Scottish firm that came to install them from Scotland when we had these Maver Cowsons. It's a long while ago. Some of the first conveyors we had these were the cutters, the Maver Cowson.
Number 7, rescue team in a mine.
These are the rescue. This is when there's been an explosion or a big fall or something. Anything like that could happen, you see. They've got the respirators and everything on, you see, in case of gas.
Would that be a rescue team?
Oh yes, yes.
Did each mine have a rescue team, or did anybody go and help?
Well, each mine had so many, but they had the main headquarters at Stoke. That was down at Stoke, but each mine had and then if they were needed at other collieries, they'd certainly go along if there'd been a big explosion and they were needed elsewhere at other collieries. Each colliery would send their own team, you see. They'd call on the teams.
Did they use a canary in the cage in those days?
Well, yes, but they've in the olden days, but they've more up-to-date methods now with the lamps. See, the new style of lamps now will give them the gas testing. In the olden days, they used to use the canaries.
8, mine inspector.
Yes, this is the mining inspector. He's having a look at the endless rope haulage. This is an endless rope haulage where he's walking by in the workings.
And Charlie Brown would be responsible to him as a fireman and
Oh yes. He'd all the responsibility, and if this inspector found anything wrong, he'd be the one who'd have to have the choking off for a start.
Yeah. Number 9. What's that? Just a cross section of.
These are crossways leading shunt ends, what we call shunt ends, leading all the way into different districts. You see.
Number 10. Anybody you know? Mining 1900.
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know who he is. This is the old workings. When I first started work in the collieries, this was the style of work, all timber, what we call the herringboning and all that. They call that herringboning, the old timber, larch timber, before the rings came out, these are. With the steel arches.
How did you erect the rings? Did you have a crane down there, or did you
just
do it manually?
No, just by manually. Oh, aye, hand girders, all manually.
Was it?
Yes. Sometimes we had a lifting jack for ease and for us, and then built them up gradually.
Number 11, surveyor?
This is a surveyor.
What's he doing?
Now, Charlie had used to be a bit of a surveyor, I think. He could do. He had trained for surveying during when he got his manager's certificates, you see.
Yeah.
And Charlie, he could survey. Charlie could, aye. He's a good man as regards that, you see, mining.
And would you see him like that sometimes if he wanted to?
During my day, more or less the colliery had got their own surveyors. But in the olden days, now I had an uncle, he was an underground manager and at Silverdale at the old racecourse, and he used to do the surveying.
Number 12?
Aye, this is the olden day work when we used to get it off just with a pick like, and shovel it all on when they were on the hands and knees style, you know, low workings. And this is the style before we had the long wall phases. This is just what we used to call the drift mining, you know. And they used to get it off with a pick. They'd hand hole underneath so far, and then they'd bore and fire before we had the coal cutters, this is. So before we had the coal cutters.
Number 13. You reckon that wagon's going to Charlie?
Oh yes, this is a wagon with all material in. What we say, chock wood, chock timber, or sand, or anything like that, you know, to put stoppings, build where we used to build the stoppings. And they'd more or less book it to Charlie Brown, and then they knew the district where he was working in. See, there's so many different ways to different districts, and then they put the name on side of the wagon for where he to go, what district to go in.
And has that man to push it all the way?
No, he's pushing it now to get it onto the haulage, see. But just getting it onto the haulage, and then the haulage will take it in by then.
I see. 14?
Aye, this is the new work now, the coal cutters and the conveyors at the side, and the coal cutters are going along now. And he's the cutter, you see, at this end. He's working the cutter, and the conveyors, he's going all along the long wall face now. So he's cutting the coal ready for off and onto the conveyors.
Would it throw much dust up, or?
Oh, sometimes, yes. It's just according how the way they were cutting, you see. If they cut the way of the wind, you see, that'd take it away from them. But if the wind was coming, ventilation was coming to them, then all the dust would be going all over the cutter and everything. Because you used to have the water infusion, you see, for spray on the coal and keep the dust down then, you see. Yes.
15?
Now, this is where there's been a fall in the mine. And it's all been spragged up, you see, and all these sprags have given way now, and that's caused the fall. And there's a chap here, he's buried under these lumps of coal and everything, and all they can do now is clean it up and get him out. And he's the ambulance men and everything waiting for him when he's been relieved.
Would Charlie have to answer why the sprags weren't strong enough?
Well, that's something, one of those unforeseen things, you see. There could be big breaks at the back of the coal, and the sprag, when they'd gone under so far, that'd be what had happened. Because that was similar to when my father got killed.
Was it?
Yes. All this ground was spragged up, but they were hand-holding under in the olden days, hand-holding over, and automatically they'd liberated at the back end, you see, and the sprags pushed forward, and all the stone, that was a stone pit, you see, and all the stone had come over and killed him. That was in 1917. The old style of working, that was.
16?
Aye, well, this is the banksman before the men go down the pit and everything. He's checking everything, and he's ready to receive the cage for men get in, and The notices up here, search your pockets and everything for matches or cigarettes, and these notices are for, comes under the 1911 Act, you see. And these are the shaft signals. This notice here is for all the different signals, when there's men riding or when they're just drawing coal, or just according, see, them are the different signals.
If the overman at the bottom doesn't signal, will he not take them up?
Oh, if the man at the bottom, the onsetter. Oh no, no.
There's a story about Charlie Brown that when the men wanted to go to the football match,
Yeah.
they all tried to rush in.
Oh yeah.
Was it you who told me that?
He used to rush. He used to rush for the pit bottom, and Charlie wanted to get there just the same, but more or less he got to see the men out, you see, but not always.
I heard at one time there was nearly a riot, so he pretended to telephone the police, but he kept his hand on the clicker.
Oh, those were always games with them. Not the police, more or less. He'd telephone to the manager or the under manager. Mostly the under manager.
Yeah.
He'd report you to the under manager then. But we all wanted to get to the football match in those days. There more interest in those days than what there is today.
Yeah.
They were football matches, you see, in those days.
Yeah. Somebody told me that some youth once pinched a watch from a pocket, and Charlie wouldn't let them go up the least.
Oh no! I remember at our colliery alone, where one man had his wages stolen, and the inspector came. One of the detective inspectors came down. His name was Mr. Hazel, as the chief of Newcastle, the head man at Newcastle, and he was detective then, and he came down, and it was on the afternoon shift. And I knew him, you see, by sight, and I spoke to him many a time, and I said to him, I said, "What are you doing down here?" We were going in on the night shift. And he held us back like till all the afternoon shift had come out, but they never found this man's wages. And I was just on the point of going into the work where I was to erect these big girders, 20-foot girders. And I said to Mr. Hazel, as was the detective Hazel, I said, "How about giving us a lift with one of these tonight?" He says, "Well, how do you get the damn things up there?" I says, "Well, we have one of those bottles of guineas." I said, "Lift them with one hand, same as the posters are, carrying the guineas." And he smiled.
17.
I believe he's up at Hanley now, the chief up at Hanley now. This is where all the men are working, and on the old style inn. These are the loaders. See, after it's been blown down, these are what we call the lobbers on then, before we had the Meccamores and all the work, see, for...
And the men would work as near as
yes, they were working, they were lobbing on now, these were all along here.
Was that an easy job?
No, it wasn't too easy. Keep going 7 hours with a spade all day.
Yeah.
They earned the money. Aye.
18.
Aye, this is just where they're hooking a load on. See, these are the couplings as they hook the load on, the loads for get them away. Because he's got this on pair of what we call skids, you see, where it was that low and bad to get along with. He couldn't get a wagon along, so he's had this made in a box, kind of a box wagon, which smaller, as he could get it along on these skids. This is the very old type, yes. We used to call these duck bills at one time, duck bills these.
Duck bills.
Aye, you used to be on your hands and knees and going along in the very low places to deal with all this sort of work.
Somebody told me that Charlie Brown used to sketch down the pit, but surely that's not true, is it?
Oh yes, I've seen him do, and same as when we've been having the snapping, and Charlie's had his. There's been a piece of tin there, you know, what we call tin. Charlie's drawn a little sketch for us, anything like that. Oh aye, very good.
Would the men say to him, "Draw us something," or?
Oh aye, aye. I did ask him what he got for his snapping sometimes. If he got anything nice, he'd tell him go, something was wrong somewhere, and he did his snapping. And I remember one job, he put 2 mice in Charlie's pocket one day. Took his snapping out and put 2 mice in. He said, "Buggers have enjoyed my snapping." These blokes had had his snapping. And they left these mice in, because we had quite a lot of mice.
He said he would never let see a mouse killed.
Oh no, he was very ticklish that way, and when the mice had got in his pocket, he just put his hand in and got out and he dropped them, you know, but he was scared of them.
Yeah.
Of course all the blokes knew what they'd done like, they'd had his snapping and put his mice in. Because you could pick them up sometime by the tail, you know, that tame some of them were.
Yeah.
Aye. We had quite a lot of mice there at one time.
How did they get in?
Well, they used to come in the wagons, you know, timber or anything down the pit, and then they'd automatically breed. It would being warm in some of the places, they'd breed in hundreds, as you can see. Aye. And if ever the pit, after they'd had the fortnight's holidays, they always used to work and find the way to the pit bottom. When they'd eaten all the snapping and all that, in the end, they'd work the way to the pit bottom. All round, the pump house used to be full of them, and all around. I know I was working one week, there wasn't much on and everything was quiet, and all these mice were running all round the cables and all round the place. I was sniped with them. Charlie had been sitting there having his snapping in the pump house where I used to be. He wouldn't have stopped there, he'd have gone.
But he didn't.
Scared of them. No, he's scared of them. He was scared of the mice. Aye. Aye.
19.
Aye, this is steer work, you see, this is. We're on the very, very steer. And this is the olden type where we used to bore with a peggy. These are the peggy drills, you see. You used to bore with the hand then. Aye. Then this is the haulage along the wagon road. This is the wagon road before we had the conveyors, this was. And these are the men hauling, you see. These are hauling under what we call land hauling underneath. And he's the fireman sitting here waiting for that man bore that hole. When he's bored that hole and everything, the fireman, he's his battery and everything, he'll go and ram the hole, you see, and charge it and automatically fire then, and then this one's the loader waiting to load the coal with the old box and rake. There used to be old box and rake in the olden days. Of course, you're going back a good many years now, the box and rake. But when I worked at the racecourse at Silverdale in the stone pit, I used to load with a box and rake. We used to have the box and rake. Aye. That's, how long will that be? 17, that's about 46 years, 47 years ago since I was loading at the racecourse, see. And that was all the box and rake work. He's got the photos all right, Charlie, had the pictures anyway.
Yeah. 20.
Aye, this is top of the shaft, you see. This one is the pit head, what they call the pit head. And these are the banksmen. The one at the far side, he's taking the loads out, the traps at the back side, while these at this side are pushing the wagon as if they were push the loads out. In the old, on this picture, see, now then they've got automatic work, all done by compressed air now. Where this picture is where they used to push the banksmen used to push the wagons in, and they to push the loads out at the far side, and the man at the far side helped to pull them up, you see. This was before we had the compressed air, this was.
21. That's the bank again, I think. That's the top again, isn't it?
Ah yes, this is where the loads come up and they go onto the weighing machine. This is the weighing machine here, where this man's steadying this load, you see. The banksman's pulling them off the cage here, and they're coming around here, around this roundabout, and runs onto the weighing machine, and then they automatically go to the screens, to be screened then.
Is that very like it?
Yes, very much like it, this is. Yes, very much like in the olden type like. It's much different today.
22?
Hi there, this is...
What's he doing?
He's testing, this is the fireman, the deputy, testing for gas. See, these men are working and they've already got their gas lamp in, but he likes to be satisfied himself and tests himself, you see, before he fires a shot. See if there's any percentage of gas. If there's any percentage of gas, he wouldn't fire then, you see. And that's what he's doing now. By the looks of this lamp, how he's got this painting, he's got a certain amount of gas showing in the lamp. See?
23?
Ah, well, this is going back to the real old days, this is. Where they got to get their own off more or less and then load it, where at one time there used to be 3 or 4 men all hand hauling, and and then they'd load their own. See? These are the days when they used to fight for a wagon. When the wagons were short, they'd fight. If one place got a wagon more than another one, there'd be ructions up. So there'd be ructions up. And then the firemen have to come and square it up. So the firemen just going along, you know, for testing, you see, the gas again.
Was it you who told me that tale about Charlie and his father, and he said he got 2 girls into trouble?
No.
Was it you or George Leach?
No, it wouldn't be.
George Leach.
No, it wouldn't be me, sorry that. But George Leake, he used to be the under manager
George
before
Leach.
Mr. Ogden. He was the under manager before Mr. Ogden.
Was he?
Aye.
24.
Aye, this is the new style of working again now. And he's the cutters coming along, the conveyors here ready for move the coal over. And this is the chap putting the pack on. So you're getting the packs on before the cutter goes along.
What are these brick things?
Well, that's supposed to be stone like, lumps of dirt. That's what it is. They're not bricks. It's how he's drawn it as brick. But it's the lumps of stone or dirt or anything after the waste, you see. And they built them up for the packs. Now automatically, when they move these conveyors over again, they move this timber over and they build another pack. See, down the side, keep following up with these packs. So they keep following.
And that
up
was
with
Charlie Brown's job, was it, packing?
Oh no, Charlie was one of more of a deputy to go round, you know, and seeing anything. But in his later years, he was more in charge of the stoppings, you know, where a district had finished, and he'd be in charge of drawing all the timber and then see the stoppings were put on right. Has to be some hoodwinking then if they didn't say they were put on right, you know. They'd say they put so much on and they hadn't. And Charlie used to go round every so often like and see as they were in spec, because he was in charge, you see, deputy. See they were put on right.
What was that tale about him being on air raid duty? What was it you said?
Oh aye, that was during the war. Charlie and my brother, they were fire watching. They were. I was on ARP during the night, and Jack Ashmer and one or two of my other pals that have passed away now, they were on home guard, and we made it up this night to the powerhouse man, let us kid Charlie, just to have a bit of fun with him, because he used to like a bit of a joke like, and he never used to take much offence. So we had arranged, because Charlie lived at Hanley, and we had arranged like with Joe, the powerhouse man, during the night, it'd be about 2 o'clock in the morning, for say that he'd had the red light as the planes were over bombing. Of course, we all had to go down in the cellar then, and when we got down in the cellar under the powerhouse, there was a barrel crucifer as led to the main shaft, and we sat in there. Of course, Joe come down and said like the red light, the planes were approaching, and every now and then they'd put a load on at the bottom of the pit shaft like, and being the downcast, all the sound would travel up against the wind, you see, and every now and then it used to go bang, bang. Joe used to say, and all of us, by gum, them are near to Charlie. Aye, he says, aye, he says, I don't like that, he said to me brother, to Jack. He says, but anyway, Jack, if anything happens, he says, I've left all my wages, he says, in my pocket, in the bath, in the locker. He says, look after him for me if anything happens, but we were all together. It seemed as if Charlie thought he was going to happen to him. So I'll never forget it when we said to the lamp house man, when we'd been down a while, throw a dustbin lid down the steps, he'll go below. Because we all knew what we were doing, there was no air raid at all, just pulling his leg like. Anyway, he threw this dustbin lid down, and Charlie said, "Boy, come, they dropped one on us. They dropped one on us, he's never get out." And we all kept the faces as straight as we could, you know. Never said a word. Joe come down later on in the night. He said, "It's all over now." He says, "But they pasted round Hanley." Of course, when he goes in the office the next morning, my brother said to me, as Charlie said to Mr. Ogden, the under manager, because Mr. Ogden was always early across in the morning before the men went down the pit. He says to Mr. Ogden, "By gum, Jim," he says, "we had a rough night tonight. The Henry dropped some bombs round about." Of course, Jimmy says, "Well, I haven't heard any, Charlie. I've had a good night's sleep." God thought no more about it. He goes home and everything was all in order. They'd had no bombing or anything. He comes to work the next night. He said what he'd do for you and all of us. But anyway, it all went off in good parts. Aye. Here's a Charlie.
25.
Aye, this has been a runner.
What's a runner?
Where the loads have broke away. So the loads have broke away. Something's gone wrong with the haulage rope here, and the haulage rope's broken. All the loads have run back, and he's the deputy coming over, trying to get over the top to see what's been the cause of it. Take a while to get this ready now.
What would they do to clean up that mess? How would they do it?
Oh, they'd have to get the dog and chain, what we call the dog and chain, the Sylvester, and dog them back, you see, and get, because all the ropes broke, you see, dog them all back and fasten them till they can get them all cleared, you see, and clean the dirt up again, coal, whatever it is, and then automatically get the rope mats and got them on the way again.
26. That's an old-fashioned one, isn't it?
Oh yes, these are very old-fashioned, aye. Very old-fashioned these are. These are chocks here, what they call chocks here. He's got his name marked on it, C.W. Brown, 1927. But that is the old style of working. That was just as the conveyors were beginning coming round about then. Of course, there used to be what we call the shakers then, before we had the belts. The old steel pans, used to shake, or compressed air. They were just coming in then.
Were they noisy? Were they noisy?
Oh yes, they were noisy. Only when they were loaded. When they were loaded, fully loaded with coal, they weren't too bad. It's when they were running empty and there was no coal on them.
Is the pit a noisy place or quiet?
Oh, well, it's just according to where you are, you see. If you get to where the coal cutters are and all that, you get pretty well a noise then.
Yeah.
But otherwise, when you're working in ordinary jobs, you can talk to one another, anything. But where the coal cutters are and the conveyors is... It's not too bad now with the belts, you see, for noise. It was when we had the old shakers. They were very noisy they were, very noisy.
27.
Aye, this is the winding. This looks like the old pitter to me, at the old winding shaft. Aye, this is it. The back, what we call the back pit, this is, the winding shaft. Aye, no it won't, this will be the main shaft. Yes, this will be the main one. Because they've taken the old one out and got the electric one now, and this is the main shaft now, where we used to wind the coal up. Aye, this is the main one.
28.
Aye, this is supposed to be the contractor in the collier, you see. He's setting the timber, seeing the timber set well all along, following the bed up, you see, all the while. He's what we call the contractor. He is, while these other men are shoveling the coal on, you see. He's looking after the safety of the props and everything, you see.
Well, is that the sort of buddy system?
Yes, kind of. He's a contractor in charge of the face, you see.
That's the first one. That's one of the first ones he ever did. Old Rookery Pit, Bignell End.
Aye, this is the old Rookery.
28.
Yeah. Is it 1905.
It's 29 that one. 29. Yeah.
Aye. Yes. Aye, this is the old workings, this is. I was only a little boy then, when this was going. 30.
Does he resemble anybody?
Aye. 1953. Well, I should have thought he'd more like Miss Ogden, the under manager. If I had my guess at it. He's a bit like Miss Ogden, the under manager. And now he used to be Mr. Scott, the manager. Mr. Bromillo, he was the manager. And Mr. Betson. So Mr. Betson was the manager. And Mr. Ball. Oh, we've had several managers. But I said, this looks a bit like Mr. Ogden because he used to wear the breeches and the,
Did he?
you know, the little short trousers, the breeches. I should say that's as much like Mr. Ogden as anyone. Aye.
31.
Aye, this is the coal cutter. This is the cutter, see, and this is the man in front. He's at the cutting, and this one's following up with the cables, you see. He's looking at the cables, the electric cables, as follow up, you see, so you don't get fast anywhere. Because if they got fast or anything like that, and he was still cutting, he'd automatically snap the cable or do some damage.
It's an early one, isn't it? 32.
Oh, now then we're getting to back when I first started work. I used to be a pony driver.
Did you?
Yes, I was a pony driver. We used to have all the ponies down the pit then. That was before we had any engines. And that was one of my first job in the pit when I was 14.
Would they have rings and ponies in the same?
No, there was no rings then.
So that's
No,
wrong.
yeah, there was no rings in our day. Not when we had the ponies down there. These rings come out later. But some pits have still got
Ponies.
ponies now, where the arches are.
Oh, I see, yeah.
See, oh yes, they could have them in some pits yet, you see, and have the arches. But in my day, when we had the pony, there was no rings like these, no arches. It was all timber.
Why does that pony wear the cover?
Well, that's for keep his head safe. You see, that's a leather headgear, and over his eyes, there'd be like these kind of ironwork, you know, as he could see through, but kind of a shield for in case he knocked his head in anything.
Were some of them frisky, the ponies?
Oh yes, aye, and they knew when it was snapping time and loose it.
Did they?
They did. They could tell the time as well as you. Aye, I've known us all be in the end like when somebody shouted snapping, and they'd run like anything to the stables. I used to take them to the stables, and they'd have a feed of corn at 20 minutes snapping. Then we should bring them in again at loose it, and then we used to have to wash the legs down, and the horse, what I call the horse, he'd have all the food left for them, but we should have to wash the legs down, wash the sludge off the legs. Marvel said they found the road. They found the road in the dark. Aye, they could. And we used to burn candles then, so you can tell there wasn't much light for the ponies then. That was at the stone pit, you see.
Well, did you just have to sit on and send them off and they knew the way home?
You should hook the chain on, and some had what we call shafts. A steel shaft, this one's got chains, you see. That's what they call a chain horse. Where some of them used to have a shaft because of holding back at them, you see. Where this was got lockers in, you see. He's got lockers to hold them back in those wagons now, else he'd run on the horse, you see. Now we might go so far along and have to be a bit steer the ground also, and he'd have to pull up then, and they'd take these lockers out for him to pull up, you see.
I see, yeah.
That is the very old workings, that is.
Were there special engineers to maintain the rails?
Oh, those are roadmen.
Roadmen.
Oh yes, what we call the roadmen, road doggies.
33.
Aye, these are where they're having the snapping now. They've got this is the style of workings is not long back, you see, when they had all the pneumatic drills and everything, called the jackhammers and pneumatic drills. And man, he looks as if he's got a bit of headache.
Why are the girders bent there? Is it?
Oh, that's through the weight. That could be the floor lift or the weight above, you see. But this is the floor lift as he's done that, and the side pressure. See the side pressure, and shoved them up like church to windows, you know, shoved them straight up. That is. That's due to be no real solid backing over the top. They've gone up in the roof. The side pressures push them in, and he's pushed them in, scores them in that much. It's forced them up in the roof because there was no covering over the top. No, should have been all packed over, chopped over, anything, you see. But instead of that, they advanced that quick. They haven't time to do it all, and they just put the rings up and off to go. Well, they've gone up in the roof through the roof being weak, you see. That's side pressures, he scores that.
34, another coal cutter, isn't it?
Aye, this is another coal cutter. I see the different types of coal cutters, do you see? There was the Samsons, and there's these Maver Carlson's cutters, there's There will be cutters. They've lots of cutters, you see, different styles, you see, but more or less they all worked on the same type.
36.
Aye, this is where the props are giving way. Aye, this is it. These chaps have been working, and it looks as if they've been out of bounds a bit, and automatically they've had a bit of a fall, you see. We've been out of bounds, see. He's got his timber there and his timber this side, and this is giving way. He's not had enough support up to keep them, you see. So they've not had enough support.
When as they dig in the side, it weakens the roof, does it?
Oh yes, weakens the roof, you see. Aye.
37. Do you know him? Old miner. Then the miner, would that not do?
No, I wouldn't say he thought his right about. Oh no. He'd just say to you what he'd do for us, you know, but he didn't mean anything or anything like that. Aye. No, I wouldn't say he threw his weight about. He could do, you know. He was built that way, like, in his way. If he could be naughty if he wanted. Yeah. If he wanted to be naughty, he could be naughty, but more or less we got on very well with him. Very well with him.
And you were able to take the fun out of him, and he didn't mind?
Oh no, we had many a joke with him, and he never really got naughty over it, you know. He'd tell us off sometimes, but he'd laugh after it after we'd gone. Aye.
Yeah, go.
Well, and then there's the football matches. When we used to go to the football matches, and more often than not, he used to go with Mr. Ogden, the under manager, and my brother-in-law, Mr. Thomas, Jack Thomas, the engineer. And we used to go down of a Saturday, and I'll never forget one weekend we got a very big job on the conveyors. Of course, Mr. Ogden wanted this job getting done, Charlie wanted it getting done, my brother wanted it getting done, and all of us and everything was going wrong when we first installed them. And I remember him saying as plain as anything, Mr. Ogden come down, oh, he was going blue with all of us, things weren't going right. And I remember Charlie saying to Mr. Ogden, like, you can bugger off and get your dinner yourself and go to the football match yourself, I won't go with you today. Because he got the breeze up like that, Charlie did, and that's as far as he went then. There was no football match for us. Mr. Ogden walked off and left us to it.
Yeah, what were you saying?
Because, you know, in them days, we only used to pay a shilling at the boothing end, and I think it was 9pence at the town end, and there was no cover at the boothing end or anything of that when we first started going, and all the town end was open by a little cover, and it was more or less flat then before they built the spine cop up. And we more or less we used to go to the boothing end, and the old crowds were there then, but it used to be enjoyable then, not same as it is today, and that's what's turned a lot of us off going to football matches as older men now. We won't go where the young ones are because all this rowdyism and that just goes off. But in them days we used to have some real good times. Of course we had the time, same as some of the young ones now, but not like it is now.
Yeah.
Aye.
What was that about Charlie Brown's exhibition in Hanley?
Oh yes, I remember at one period he invited my brother and myself up to Hanley. He was showing some pictures at the public. And as you approach Hanley, just before you get to the canal bridge, it was on the left hand side by where Charlie used to live. But first of all he took us into his home, and he was showing us quite a number of these paintings, and I remember he'd one on the wall of the Lord's Prayer, and that must have been done in fretwork and all painted. Then after we'd looked all round his paintings, his grandfather's clocks and one thing and another, we went up to this pub a little bit higher up than where he lived, and he got quite a number of paintings in there, and they were very good. Of course, when we finished having the night with Charlie, we were a bit painted as well. We'd had a drink or two. But I'll never forget, he asked me to go up to Hanley, to the museum, as he'd already got some in there. And one that interested me mostly was one they called Etruria. I think it was Etruria Lights, and it gave you Etruria Station when it was all more or less in the old oil lamps as were hanging about, and it was very good. And the last I heard of that, it was in Hanley Museum. What's become of it, I don't know. But he did have quite a lot in there on show.
I think it's still there.
Aye.
Did the other men know that he was a painter? Did they?
Oh yes, it was well known all round the colliery that he was a painter. Charlie was a painter, in his spare time.
Which was nearly all the time. He told us that
Yes.
he rarely went out, you know.
Oh yes, but occasionally he'd go on these outings with us, you know. I remember we went to Blackpool once, and he's very fond of my other brother, Arthur, the one that was a official at Silverdale. And I remember they'd like to miss the buzz home at night. They bought a bottle of whiskey and he was drinking that on the station, getting that down, and that was sort of chap Charlie was. When he was out, he used to enjoy himself.
Yeah.
He used to love to enjoy himself, Charlie had. Liked a good time.